Carolle is the Executive Director of Telefilm Canada, as most of you know. And as many of you also know, Telefilm Canada has embarked on an ambitious plan which encourages the industry to diversify its funding sources, most notably from the private sector. And Telefilm Canada is doing this all against the backdrop of global economic troubles and increasing government restraint. Carolle's presentation today is called The Canadian Audiovisual Industry, We Mean Business. It's a distinct pleasure to welcome Carolle to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Merci beaucoup. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be invited again to speak at prime time in Ottawa. I must admit that I've been looking forward to talking about my subject for today. Last year, I came to discuss the ideas behind Telefilm's corporate plan called Fostering Cultural Success. I talked about how Telefilm was daring to change from a financial lever to a lever of overall success. The wheels of change, I'm very proud to say, have definitely been set in motion. I'm not here to read you a report card, but rather to connect with what we pledged to do with what we are actually doing, and to explain why it's more relevant than ever. Well, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And last November, when Telefilm's chair, Monsieur Michel Roy, and I announced our Success Index, which measures the commercial, cultural, and industrial success of your creations, we laid the foundation for important changes. And in doing so, we began building the bridge between words and actions, and more importantly, success. Vous, de l'industrie canadienne, connaissez du succès, et ici on peut parler de plusieurs choses, les nominations aux Oscars, des ventes aux États-Unis et à l'étranger, des innovations en matière de marketing et dans les médias sociaux. Lorsque les temps sont difficiles, le succès attire encore plus l'attention. The plan Telefilm embarked on last year was based on two beliefs we strongly hold. First, the industry has reached a level of maturity and production capacity that enables Telefilm to expand our role in promotion and audience building around the world. And second, our current environment of economic restraint and limited public resources requires us to embrace innovation in our funding approach. People who know me know that I'm a pragmatic optimist. I'm not one to deny the existence of challenges, but I'm more focused on finding opportunities that surround those challenges, which sometimes uncover the most rare and significant of opportunities. For me, this is really the process that drives innovation. So now it's not the time to roll over, to cling to the old ways. Now is the time to work harder, to be more creative, and to learn from one another. This is, after all, the year of the dragon, and I'm a very, very proud dragon. I have every confidence that we will succeed, and Telefilm is ready to accompany you. Canadian screen-based content is too good and too important not to succeed. We have a strong international reputation, and we have constantly punched above our weight class in both artistic achievement and commercial success. Now, have a quick look at what I mean. Nice, and I can tell you there's a lot more coming. Au cours de la dernière année, Telefilm a travaillé très fort pour accentuer son rôle en tant que promoteur. Plus précisément, nous avons mis à profit notre image de marque et nos voies de communication sur la scène internationale pour faire connaître le talent canadien et les histoires à succès de notre industrie. For example, at the Toronto International Film Festival, our signature Talent to Watch sessions were designed to spotlight the creative talents of our country's emerging and established filmmakers in the national media. Hosted by an industry veteran, these sessions delivered a lively and insightful at why Canadian cinema is applauded around the world. Every time I see the work we can produce, I am very, very proud. So the core of my message through the remaining minutes of my talk today will be, essentially, where do we go from here? How do we keep reaching for the top of that potential you just saw on the screen? To bring those questions into focus, I want to briefly contrast two real-life trends that touch our lives every day and shows us what interesting times we live in. The first one represents our challenge, the current global economic problem. The European Union is facing the biggest crisis in its history. The US is slowly climbing out of a deep financial crisis that has now lasted 5 years, and economists are even worried about China. In Canada, it seems like we still have a seat in the lifeboat, but economic restraint is a fact of life in this country as well. Now, what could possibly be the silver lining in such a rain cloud? Well, consider this equally familiar trend. What was the most popular Christmas present this past year? A tablet computer. One of the major functions of the tablet, as you well know, is streaming media via the Internet. Ici au Canada, et on l'a dit plusieurs fois au cours de la conférence, environ 8 millions de foyers ont une connexion Internet à large bande, ce qui représente le plus haut taux de pénétration selon les normes internationales. Et c'est aussi la meilleure plateforme pour diffuser du contenu de façon continue. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers, Canadians will have almost doubled their spending for online movies over the 5-year period ending in 2014. And even though the traditional models for media distribution still dominate in Canada, as Robert Tercek noted yesterday, it's changing very rapidly. That's because their competition now includes low-cost or no-cost internet media streamers like YouTube and Netflix. These new platforms, which gave consumers much greater freedom of choice, represent new demand opportunities for Canadian audiovisual content. At our presence at MIPCOM this year, it was clear that Canada's youth programming had made a name for itself in non-traditional markets. Les producteurs canadiens ont non seulement fait la transition vers les nouveaux médias et la diffusion numérique, mais ils sont devenus des coproducteurs très recherchés. En effet, grâce à leur créativité, leur esprit d'entreprise et à leur réussite, les entreprises canadiennes sont maintenant très en demande pour la coproduction. More and more countries are showing an interest in Canadian youth content, including, most recently, several Arab countries, South Africa, and a number of Latin American markets. So what's my point in contrasting these two trends, the global economy and the media revolution? Well, simply this. Even though economic times are just about the toughest they've ever been, one of the biggest and fastest growing social and technological transformation is all about our industry, your industry. Both trends are unfolding on a global scale and both at the same time. On one end, we may have never experienced a tougher time to finance the production of our works, but on the other end, we've probably never had a better time to reach to our consumers and build audiences. But just like the pressure on traditional media distribution models, we are going to see continuing pressure on traditional funding models. Telefilm's corporate plan is our declaration that we believe in the entrepreneurial spirit of our industry, its ability to adapt to this new reality. In other words, our industry is mature enough and resourceful enough to develop relationship with alternate sources of financing. So what existing financing options can we leverage and what new ones can we create? First, we were very pleased to see that Canadian private sector investments and foreign participation doubled in our last fiscal year to account for 26% of total production budgets. That investment enabled Telefilm to stretch our budget further and support 5 more films in 2010-2011, which is about 10% more. Our ability to stretch and adapt really represents a larger commitment from Telefilm to work at peak efficiency. We are streamlining our programs to free up operating budgets that can be reinvested in our financing programs for the industry. It's a simpler, more flexible approach to our business, focused on client needs and automation of processes. Secondly, on the co-production front, it is interesting to note that this sector of activities remains an important one and is rising gradually. Last year, Canada's project with other countries rose to over 60, representing foreign investment in excess of $230 million. Telefilm will continue to develop co-production as both a funding option and an important source of new audiences. Last November, for example, we joined the Ontario Media Development Corporation in a trade mission to Mumbai and Goa to forge new relationships and to build foundations to future collaboration between Ontario producers and Indian producers. Beyond these improving prospects for private sector and foreign investment is a world of innovation that is just beginning to be explored. As my colleague Valerie Creighton said yesterday when she spoke about the joint project between Telefilm and the Canada Media Fund to expand audiences, yes, the world is going media crazy, and Canada is particularly plugged into this trend with some of the most tech-savvy users in the world. Our filmmakers are starting to build social media marketing success stories like Oboe with a Shotgun, and have experimented with online releases of feature films such as Enfin l'automne, the first Canadian feature-length film on YouTube. As well, a pair of documentary filmmakers for Indie Game the Movie that was presented at Sundance, which has been optioned by HBO, used 2 Kickstarter campaigns to help finance their film and nearly doubled their financing objective. And the First Weekend Club raised enough funds for the beta launch of their new streaming service for Canadian films. Sorry, Douglas, I missed the beta pronunciation. They're coaching me on English pronunciation, and there's still a few words that I missed. These developments are part of a bigger picture of upside opportunities that are designed to exploit digital media production and multi-platform delivery. This part of our situation today I find very fascinating, and it's part of the reason why today we define success differently with our new index. I believe that the challenges of a poor economic environment can be tempered by emerging opportunities in the current social and technological environment. Opportunities such as audience building and ultra-low production budget. Digital platforms, creative thinking. This is the perfect segue to announce that Telefilm will be launching a new micro-budget program for 2012. The new pilot program aims to finance the production and marketing of micro-budgeted feature films that will use innovative production techniques, and benefit from complementary release strategies to reach audiences across multi-platform multiple digital platforms. The programs targets a new generation of filmmakers, young directors and producers who are accomplished short filmmakers and poised to produce and release their first feature-length film. What I find most interesting with the micro-budget program is that we're going to be financing the projects, not the processes. Also, our high stake in these small projects represents a strong lever for additional investment. So even though we expect to support 8 to 10 films per year with these investment of $100,000 to $120,000 per project, total budgets for each project could climb as high as $250,000. S'il est vrai que notre industrie doit relever des défis sur le plan financier, il est vrai également que nous avons des choix à faire. Nous pouvons nous lamenter sur le manque de financement ou en profiter pour mettre notre créativité au sein de la production, comme nous le faisons sur le plan artistique. Personally, I believe that our industry is flourishing and we have much more to gain by adapting our funding model to the economic realities we face today. I know that many people have been inspired by the Steve Jobs story in these recent months, and I'm not talking about his personality. When I read his biography, I was struck by what he said about the need to think different, in a period of crisis particularly. When Jobs was fired by Apple, the company he co-founded, he could have felt defeated and victimized. But soon came Pixar, and then his return to the company. And look at Apple today. I know it's a paradox, but fundamental change and growth are most likely to occur when we're out of our comfort zone. Telefilm s'est engagé à travailler avec l'industrie pour remodeler son modèle de financement. C'est vraiment ce que nous voulons dire quand nous déclarons que Telefilm veut devenir un investisseur innovateur, aider l'industrie à diversifier ses partenariats, afin d'être plus solide et moins dépendante d'une source de financement en particulier. Our corporate plan is also committed to finding and developing new sources of financing for the industry. So it makes me particularly proud today to also announce the creation of a new private donation fund. Canadian corporate and individual donors will have an opportunity to support audiovisual content through donations to film production. When we get the new private donation fund up to full operating capacity, we plan to disburse about $5 million per year in 2 programming streams. One stream supporting first film by emerging filmmakers, and another stream supporting films by our experienced and award-winning filmmakers to extend their global reach. And I must say that this idea came from conversation that I had with many of you, particularly you, Tom, and we thought that this idea was a great idea. The programs will be administered by Telefilm. I think we're really good at that. But the fund, of course, will be kept completely separate from our traditional programs. We've talked to prospective donors in the corporate sector, and the response is very, very enthusiastic. And I would like to particularly thank Perrin Beatty, President and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Canada's most influential business association, for lending his invaluable support to this initiative. Supporting arts and culture and young talent are both priorities in many corporate charitable giving programs. It's going to be exciting to develop the private donation fund, and it's going to be another great benefit for the industry. one more tool to our toolbox to support success. With these announcements today, my objective is twofold. First, I want to share with you my optimism for the future and my firm belief that with the right amount of determination, perseverance, and creative innovation, we can turn challenges into opportunities. The Canadian industry still has a solid level of public support compared to many other countries, namely the government support of the Canada Media Fund, the Canada Feature Film Fund, and our tax credit programs. We are also privileged of producing content in English, French, and Aboriginal languages, which have potential audiences on every continent. Yes, we have our work cut out for us, but on the other hand, we have a mature and resourceful industry with an excellent international reputation, a proven ability to outperform our budget. Plus, we also have a proliferation of platforms and markets that need and want our contents. Finally, my second objective is to challenge you. To challenge you to remain optimistic, to continue to believe that tough times bring opportunities, and to pull out all the stops on creativity from the art form itself through the financing of your production and the marketing of the finished product. We all need to think different. Nous devons tous penser différent. Merci beaucoup.